The Saint Lucia Labour Party's deputy political leader has expressed concern that the use of tents may have contributed to voter suppression during the recently held 2021 general elections. On July 26th, St. Lucians in a number of constituencies, including Grosile, Micoud South, Castries Central and Castries South, cast their ballots in tents, a first for the country's voting process.
Well, a lot happened on that day. The Labour Party had expressed concern about the arrangements that were being made using tents. And we felt the arrangements using the tents were not the best, the most conducive. And in some constituencies, it actually acted as voter suppression in some ways. I know in my own constituency, in one particular polling division, when it started to rain, the problem it caused, with the mud and where would people shelter. But I think you saw St. Lucians were determined to vote. And they did come out to vote. Some people probably expected a higher voter turnout, but I mean, it was probably in keeping with what has been the last 2 or 3 elections in St. Lucia. Other Caribbean countries, when they had elections during COVID, had a much lower voter turnout than we did in St. Lucia.
Ernest Hilaire further noted that the introduction of a series of new polling stations also posed a challenge.
There were some, again in my constituency, new polling divisions created. Persons were unsure where to vote, and it caused serious mobilization efforts on the part of the Saint Lucia Labour Party to make sure persons went to vote in the right places. We have a long tradition of elections in St. Lucia that we can be proud of. There will always be the situations where it was not entirely the most conducive, but at the end of the day, the people of St. Lucia spoke. They spoke decisively. Whereas some of us would have wanted better conditions and for more people to come out, we have to move on with governing the country. And I think our focus now is on getting appointed all the ministers in place and for us to start working.
On election day, the SLP's Micoud South candidate Gibeon Ferdinand expressed concern that the use of tents as polling stations could have compromised the electoral process.
I think we have an issue. This morning there was an issue in Lacouville, M2B. There are tents there and it started raining and the voters on the line just occupied, they run for cover and they had nowhere else to go but under the tent. And I think that could have compromised the process because you do not want voters entering the polling stations who are not voting and crowding the place. So I think the idea of the tents must be revisited.
Outside of these concerns, the Micoud South constituency's voting process was also marred by serious allegations of fraud. Reports indicate that a presiding officer at one polling station allegedly attempted to make off with a ballot box. Reporters questioned whether the SLP intended to pursue the matter or move forward.
Well, again, we have not moved on from anything. We are in the process of getting all the information we can, getting all the assessments of what happened, and we will act appropriately when the time comes.
While no arrests were initially made, Gibeon Ferdinand has indicated that legal action is very likely and that all parties concerned are reviewing the matter. For Choice News Now, Amani Matre reporting.